For 5 years, our housekeeper had never once called me Mr. Rhodes. Even when I corrected her, even commanded her, she refused to change. That all changed the day I went to get a replacement marriage certificate. The clerk looked over my documents, then gave me a puzzled look. "Sir, there's an issue with your certificate. The official seal is a forgery." The clerk's casual words left me completely stunned. "How is that possible? Please, could you check again?" The clerk typed our social security numbers into the system again. The screen read, "Chloe Rhodes is married, but you, sir, are single." My voice trembled as I asked who Chloe's legal husband was. "Kevin Anderson." I clenched my fists, struggling to stay upright as I took back the little red booklet. The words "marriage certificate" on the cover swam before my eyes, making them ache. At first, I'd hoped it was a system error, but hearing Kevin Anderson's name shattered that fantasy in an instant. The lavish wedding 5 years ago was a lie. The 5 years we spent as the picture-perfect, inseparable couple, also a lie. The marriage that was my greatest pride was a complete fraud. Clutching the legally worthless piece of paper, I drove home, my heart a cold, dead weight in my chest. As I reached for the door, I heard voices from inside. It was the Rhodes family lawyer. "Ms. Rhodes, it's been 5 years. Have you considered giving your husband a legally recognized position?" I froze, holding my breath. After a long pause, Chloe's cool voice finally came. "Let's wait. Kevin is still trying to make a name for himself overseas. How can he stand his ground in that cutthroat world without being known as my husband?" The lawyer cautioned her. "Your marriage to him is not legally binding. If he finds out, he could walk away at any moment." Chloe looked down, deep in thought. "Kevin is Lily's biological father, after all. I have to do everything I can to protect him. As for Ethan, he loves me too much to ever leave. Besides, he already cut ties with the Clark family to be with me. He has nowhere else to go." It was the height of August, but a chilling cold seeped into my very bones. So my decision to defy my parents, to throw away my family to marry her, had all been part of her plan. All the little things that never quite added up suddenly made perfect sense. Why Rhodes Corporation, a company that never touched philanthropy, suddenly started a foundation. Why Chloe, who always complained about noisy children, was so incredibly fond of Lily, an orphan from the local children's home. No wonder she'd been dropping hints about wanting to adopt Lily. Lily was her and Kevin's daughter. I looked up at the blinding sun, and the world spun. My legs gave out, and my knee slammed into the edge of a stone step. Hearing the thud, Chloe rushed out of the house and helped me to my feet, guiding me inside. She settled me onto the sofa, her touch as delicate as if she were handling a priceless crystal. "Ethan, are you feeling all right?" I tilted my head, staring into her eyes, trying to see past the love she projected, searching for a hint of truth. But I couldn't. When I didn't answer, a flicker of panic crossed her face. "Ethan, did you hear something?" I shook my head. "I think it's the heat. I feel dizzy and sick." She visibly relaxed, then stood and turned on my driver. "How could you let this happen? Go to accounting, get your final paycheck, and get out." I held up a hand to stop her. "It was a beautiful day. I wanted to walk. It's not his fault." She knelt, gently blowing on the scrapes on my knee. "Ethan," she murmured, "you're just too kind, too soft-hearted." And that was why, for 5 years, I had been completely in the dark, living in a fantasy she had created for me. I suddenly grabbed her hand. I still couldn't believe the woman who seemed to love me more than life itself could be lying to me. Maybe the clerk's office had made a mistake. Maybe Chloe didn't know anything about it. Clinging to that last sliver of hope, I asked, "Chloe, our marriage certificate got damaged. We should go get a replacement, shouldn't we?" A flicker of panic crossed her eyes before she quickly composed herself. She looked away, unable to meet my gaze. "Let's have the lawyers handle it. You just focus on getting better." I closed my eyes, despair washing over me. That night, I was tormented by nightmares. In my dreams, my parents' angry words twisted together with Chloe's whispers of love. "If you marry that woman, you are no longer welcome in this house. Ethan, I'll never let you down. From now on, I'm the only family you'll ever need." 5 years ago, against my parents' wishes, I broke off the engagement I'd had since childhood and insisted on marrying Chloe. My father was so angry he had a heart attack. My mother's final words to me were, "You'll live to regret this." I chose love, packed a suitcase, and left New York City for DC on my own. For 5 years, Chloe's love for me never seemed to fade. If anything, it grew stronger every day. Her friends used to joke that if I pointed to a star and said I wanted it, the great Chloe Rhodes would find a way to get it for me. I'd always laughed when I heard that, because she actually had. I once saw a blue star in an astronomy magazine and casually mentioned that it was special. For our anniversary that year, I received a certificate from the star name registry. That brilliant blue star, shining in the cosmos, was now mine. Chloe set up a powerful telescope on our bedroom balcony, and almost every night, I'd watch it twinkle. I used my happy marriage to prove to my parents that I had made the right choice. If marriage was a gamble, that fake certificate was proof that I had lost everything. In the haze of my dream, Kevin appeared before me. "Ethan, you're the fake. I'm the real one." I shook my head, screaming hysterically, "I don't believe you." Suddenly, Chloe was there, standing behind him, her eyes cold as she looked at me. I reached for her like a drowning man. "Chloe, tell him I'm your husband." But she ignored me, took Kevin's hand, and walked away. "Chloe," I shouted her name and jolted awake. "I'm here, Ethan." "Was it a nightmare?" Chloe asked, her voice full of concern as she gently rubbed my back. My eyes burned with unshed tears. "Chloe, who am I?" She paused for a second, then laughed and threw her arms around me. "You're Ethan," she cooed. "You're the man I love most in the world. You're my husband." "Am I?" I wanted to ask her, if I was so important, why did she lie to me with a fake marriage certificate? Her phone, sitting on the nightstand, buzzed. I glanced at the screen. The caller ID was Kevin. She patted my hand dismissively. "I'll have the lawyer get the certificate replaced. Don't worry. Something urgent came up at the office. I have to go." She hadn't even left the bedroom before she answered the call. "Kevin, don't worry. I'm on my way." Just then, my phone rang. It was the director of the children's home where I volunteered. "Ethan, a couple has applied to adopt Lily. Ms. Rhodes mentioned you two were interested, so I wanted to see if you had time to come by." I changed my clothes and drove to the home. I saw Chloe standing at the top of the stairs and was about to wave when a man appeared and pulled her into an embrace. "Chloe, you're finally here. You have to help Lily." Chloe soothed him. "Don't worry, Kevin. I won't let anyone take our daughter." So Kevin was back in the country. "Chloe, I don't want Lily calling anyone else mom and dad." She rested her head on his chest. "Don't worry," she whispered. "I'll make sure Lily is officially recognized as a Rhodes." Kevin finally calmed down and gently pushed her back. "You know, Chloe, legally, you and I are the married ones." "That guy, Ethan." Chloe's brow furrowed. "I only married you on paper before my wedding to keep you from getting pushed around overseas. I can give you anything you want except the title of my husband. Ethan has done nothing wrong. Stay away from him." Kevin looked annoyed, but with Lily's situation being the priority, he swallowed his pride. "Don't worry. I won't fight him for the title. I know I don't have the right." Realizing she'd been too harsh, Chloe softened her tone, trying to placate him. "What are you talking about? If not you, then who? You're Lily's father. And my mother has always been very fond of you." I nearly lost my balance. Chloe's mother knew about her and Kevin. I pictured my mother-in-law, always looking down her nose at me. Because I didn't come with a fortune, the Rhodes family had never been happy with me, and she, in particular, had never missed an opportunity to criticize me, never once showing me a kind face. I had foolishly believed that if I just tried hard enough to win her over, she would eventually accept me. Now I realized she'd already accepted another son-in-law. Of course, she never saw me as one of them. My legs felt like lead as I followed them up to the second floor. Kevin kept up his gentlemanly act until they turned a corner into an empty hallway, where he immediately pulled Chloe into his arms. "Let's forget about Lily for a minute," he said. "What about my needs?" With that, they slipped into an empty supply closet. I stood on the other side of the wall, trembling, and slid to the floor. I heard Chloe's voice as she straightened her clothes. "Ethan is so vanilla, not like you with all the tricks you learned overseas." My nails dug into my palms. I never knew the poised, dignified CEO of Rhodes Corporation had this side to her. I used the wall to pull myself up and walked away, one step at a time. The director was waiting in her office. "We just need to confirm, Mr. Clark. Are you and Ms. Rhodes still planning to proceed with the adoption?" I didn't answer right away. Instead, I asked to see Lily's file. According to the file, Lily was born in the spring 5 years ago, 2 weeks before my wedding to Chloe. While I was on one knee proposing to her, she was recovering from childbirth. Rage and betrayal burned through me. I handed the file back to the director. "I will not be adopting Lily. You can proceed with the other couple." The director nodded, a thoughtful expression on her face. "Ethan," Chloe burst through the door and snatched the file from the director's desk. When did I say we weren't adopting her? What gives you the right to make that decision for me? I looked at her, my voice ice. You didn't bother to discuss adopting her with me, did you? For a moment, she was speechless. Kevin appeared behind her. Ethan, long time no see. Beads of sweat formed on Chloe's forehead. She gestured towards Kevin. Kevin is a benefactor of the home. I just ran into him here today. I shot back. And what does that have to do with adopting Lily? Chloe's face darkened. Ethan, I never knew you could be so cold and heartless. Lily is so sweet and she's been through so much. Don't you feel anything for her? I'm cold? I'm heartless? I was the one who was lied to, the one who was betrayed, and somehow I'm the bad guy. Kevin stepped forward with a fake smile, clapping me on the shoulder. Ethan, Chloe told me you guys were adopting Lily. I'm so happy for you. She's the sweetest kid here. I couldn't stop myself. If she's so great, why don't you adopt her? My question caught him off guard. He just laughed awkwardly. Chloe stepped in front of him protectively. What are you talking about? Kevin's not married. How would it look for a single man to adopt a child? A sharp pain shot through my chest. She could think about how things looked for Kevin, but she never once considered what people would say about me if we adopted Lily. For 5 years, Chloe had insisted on using birth control, saying her career was at a critical stage. The gossip was relentless. Some people whispered that I'd been injured, that I couldn't have children. Others said I was sterile. Even my mother-in-law would make veiled comments about my inability to produce an heir. Whenever I told her how humiliating it was, she'd just buy me some expensive gift to shut me up, never once defending me. If she really loved me, how could she stand by and say nothing while I was being torn apart by rumors? Adopting a child would just confirm those rumors, wouldn't it? I clung to one last hope. Chloe, I said slowly, don't you want a child that's ours? She looked down. Let's wait a few more years, okay? You know the company is expanding right now. Fine, whatever you say. I cut her off. My heart was dead. She could do whatever she wanted. Hearing my agreement, she hugged me happily. Oh, Ethan, I knew you'd understand. You're the kindest man I know. Over her shoulder, I saw the jealousy flash in Kevin's eyes. In that moment, I knew he wasn't content with just being the husband on paper anymore. He wanted to be the man on her arm, the public son-in-law of the Rhodes family. A line from an old song popped into my head. When it comes to love, one person lets go, and another is left to pick up the pieces. I was ready to throw this broken relationship away, and I didn't care who was there to pick up the trash. Chloe went with the director to handle the paperwork, leaving me alone with Kevin at the top of the stairs. Ethan, he began, don't you think Lily looks a little like Chloe? You'd almost think they were mother and daughter. I heard the insinuation in his voice. Really? What a coincidence. He pressed on. I wonder who her father is. Must be a handsome guy. He deliberately loosened his tie, revealing a fresh hickey on his neck. Sorry about this. My wife can be a bit impatient. Is Chloe like that with you? I took a deep breath. Ever seen a dog go after a scrap of meat? His face changed. He was about to snap back when he saw someone coming around the corner. Well then, he smirked. Let's see if the dog goes for the scrap or for the man holding it. Before I could process what he meant, Kevin stumbled backward, his back to the staircase, and fell. He screamed. I instinctively reached out to catch him, but my fingers only grazed his jacket, tearing a button loose. Chloe rounded the corner just in time to see Kevin tumbling down the stairs and me, frozen with my hand outstretched. She shoved me aside and ran to him. Kevin, wake up! He grabbed her arm, his face contorted in pain. Chloe, don't blame Ethan. He was just upset about Lily. I said the wrong thing and he got angry. Then he passed out in her arms. She whipped her head around and glared at me, still on the floor where she'd pushed me. Ethan, if there's one thing I can't stand, it's a two-faced liar. She helped Kevin up. You better pray he's okay, she said, heading for the exit. Or I swear, I'll forget we ever meant anything to each other. I heard a car start downstairs and looked at my own palm, scraped raw from the fall. The director came over and helped me up, looking like she wanted to say something but couldn't. I untied the handkerchief from my wrist and wrapped it around my hand. Director, I said, I've been volunteering here for years. I thought we were friends. It was lunchtime, and the children were pouring out into the hallway. Watching Lily skip by, the director remarked, Lily is so lucky. She and Ms. Rhodes hit it off right away. On the drive back, I dialed a number in my contacts that I hadn't touched in 5 years. It only rang once before someone answered. Isabella Blackwood's cool, languid voice came through the line. Well, to what do I owe the honor, Mr. Clark? I ignored her sarcasm and got straight to the point. Isabella, is our engagement contract still valid? She laughed. You must be joking, Ethan. You're a married man. If you're looking for a mistress, you've got the wrong number. I repeated, my patience wearing thin. I'm just asking if the contract is still valid. Her voice dropped, becoming husky. Are you asking me to be your other woman, Ethan? My patience ran out. Forget I called. I hung up and pulled the car over. A message from Kevin popped up on my screen. Ethan, how does it feel being a fake husband for 5 years? Guess what Chloe's doing right now? It was followed by a gif. Chloe, in a designer gown, was kneeling to tie Kevin's shoes. Pinned to her dress was the brooch I had given her. My phone rang again. It was Isabella. Still so impatient, Ethan. If you'd been paying attention, you would have realized that certificate was fake years ago. Of course. In the 3 minutes since I'd hung up, she'd already found out what took me 5 years to discover. I gripped the phone tighter. Isabella, I didn't call for a lecture. I just want to know. Her cool voice cut me off. It's valid. It will always be valid. Her tone was uncharacteristically serious. If you want me, Ethan, I'm ready to be your wife. Took me a moment to find my voice. I have some things to take care of in DC. I'll see you next Monday at the city clerk's office in New York. Her playful tone returned. Last one, there is a rotten egg. Childish, I muttered, and hung up. That evening, I was heading to bed when the front door opened. Chloe walked in, arm in arm with Kevin, followed by staff carrying his luggage. She directed them to take his bags to the guest room, then turned to me. Kevin just got back and hasn't found a place yet. I told him he could stay here for a few days. Kevin raised an eyebrow. Just for a little while. You don't mind, do you, Ethan? My expression was neutral. Not at all. Stay as long as you like, Kevin. I'll be gone in 3 days anyway. Chloe looked surprised. You're not angry? I shook my head. I'm moving out anyway. She stared at me. What do you mean? I waved a dismissive hand. Nothing. She sensed something was off and was about to press me. But Kevin cut in. Chloe, didn't you say we were taking Lily to the amusement park? His tone, his posture, he acted like he owned the place. Her attention immediately shifted. Right? Let's go get her now. She glanced at me, her lips parted as if to say something, but then she closed them. I played the part of the understanding husband. You two go on. Think of it as an early welcome home for Lily. Kevin slung an arm around Chloe's shoulders, and they walked out looking like a happy little family. I saw the triumphant look on his face, but I just gave a polite smile and walked away. After dinner, night had fallen. I was just drifting off to sleep when I heard Kevin's voice outside my door. Chloe, just sleep with me. Chloe's voice was soft but firm. Ethan is my husband. It wouldn't be right. I'm your legal husband. He's the fake. It's perfectly right and proper for you to sleep with me. After a long silence, Chloe sighed. You're Lily's father. Just know that I will always take care of you. Kevin grumbled. Then can you at least promise me you won't let him touch you while I'm here? I slowly opened my eyes and smiled to myself in the darkness. 3 people, 3 separate rooms, each with their own secrets. The next morning, when I came downstairs, Chloe and Kevin were already at the breakfast table. You were sleeping so soundly. I told Chloe not to wake you, Kevin said. The implication was clear. He was the man of the house, and I was just a guest. Chloe didn't correct him. I ignored him and sat down. Kevin stood up and ladled a bowl of sweet soup, handing it to me. I made it myself. Try some. I immediately saw the chestnuts settled at the bottom of the bowl. I've had a deadly allergy to chestnuts my entire life. One bite could kill me. I pushed the bowl away. Sorry, I can't eat chestnuts. Kevin immediately put on a wounded expression and looked at Chloe. I should just leave. I'd rather be homeless than stay where I'm not wanted. He made a show of getting up to pack his bags. Chloe's face hardened. Ethan, she said, her voice dangerously low, as the woman of this house, I'm telling you to drink the soup. I stared at her in disbelief. You know I'm allergic. You're asking me to risk my life so you don't hurt his feelings. Seeing Kevin heading for the door, Chloe panicked and rushed to my side. She picked up the bowl, her tone absolute. I refuse to believe one bowl of soup is going to kill you. I stared at her, then, resigned to my fate, I took the bowl. I drank the entire bowl. As soon as I finished, my legs gave out. I collapsed back into the chair, choking, tears and mucus streaming down my face as I coughed uncontrollably. Chloe didn't even look at me. She just turned and ran after Kevin. A few moments later, she returned, having successfully placated him. They walked past me and headed upstairs with his bags. As she passed, Chloe said coldly, See? You're fine. A grown man acting so dramatic. My throat was already swelling shut. I managed to rasp out a muffled sound. 911. She frowned. You're about to be a father. You should start acting more mature. Now go apologize to Kevin. My vision swam, and then, as my airway closed, everything went black. Chloe never imagined that one bowl of soup would nearly kill me. In the ambulance, her face was pale and she was shaking. Ethan, don't you dare scare me. I was rushed into the ER. 5 hours later, they wheeled me out. The doctor pulled off his mask. A few more minutes and there would have been nothing we could do. The patient has a known severe allergy. Didn't his family know? Chloe was silent. She knew, and she had forced me to drink it anyway. Overcome with remorse, she stayed by my bedside until I woke up. My throat was still raw and swollen. She took my hand. I didn't know it was that serious. Why didn't you say something? What more could I have said? Should I have gotten on my knees and begged? I just stared at her, and she looked away, unable to meet my eyes. Her phone buzzed. She glanced at it, then sent a quick text. Ethan's fine. Don't blame yourself. Just take care. Then she handed the phone to me. Kevin feels awful. He insisted on apologizing to you himself. I put the phone to my ear. Kevin's voice was a smug whisper. Ethan, heard you almost kicked the bucket. I knew you were allergic. I did it on purpose. Go ahead, call the cops. Too bad you have no proof. I gripped the bedsheets, then snatched the phone and hurled it against the wall, screaming with all the force I could muster. Get out! Chloe jumped to her feet. He was just trying to apologize. Why do you have to be like this? I've hired a private nurse. You need to calm down and think about what you've done. She picked up the shattered pieces of her phone and walked out. I signed the discharge papers against medical advice that same day. Returning to the house I had poured my heart into for 5 years felt like returning to a tomb. I had chosen everything, from the plot of land to the last decorating detail. Our wedding portrait hung in the center of the living room, the two of us smiling, looking so happy. I grabbed the vase from the coffee table and hurled it at the portrait. The sound of shattering glass echoed through the house. The massive frame crashed to the floor, sending up a cloud of dust. The housekeeper rushed in. I pointed to the wreckage. We're having a new one made. Burn this. Burn every photo of us in this house. She did as she was told, gathering every album, every framed picture, and piling them on the lawn. I went to the wine cellar, grabbed several bottles of Chloe's most expensive wine, and doused the pile. I poured a glass for myself and one for the housekeeper. We clinked glasses. The sound was the shattering of 5 years of my life. I flicked a lighter and tossed it onto the pile. In the flickering light of the flames, I drained my glass, tears silently tracing a path down my face. The rest were gifts from her: designer suits, luxury watches, gaming consoles, limited edition sneakers. I boxed everything up, listed it all on eBay, and set the payment destination to the Children's Homes donation account. Chloe got a call from her assistant. Sir is selling everything you ever gave him online. The color drained from her face. She threw on her clothes. She called me again and again on the drive over, but I didn't answer. Panicked and frantic, she sped through red light after red light. She burst out of the car before it even stopped and ran into the yard. I was sitting in a lawn chair, a wine glass in my hand, surrounded by empty bottles. My face was flushed, and I was humming a tuneless melody. The tension in her shoulders eased. She came and knelt at my feet. Ethan, why weren't you answering my calls? Years ago, Kevin hadn't bothered to claim his position because Chloe's prospects weren't as bright as his other options. He had better choices, but things had changed for him overseas. He had come back to claim what he now saw as rightfully his. That weekend, I looked through the telescope one last time. The blue star had already begun to fade. At midnight, it flared with one last, brilliant burst of light, and then it was gone. Chloe still wasn't home. She called, but only to ask about the welcome party for Lily the next day. I looked around the lavishly decorated living room. Don't worry, I said. I promise. It will be unforgettable. At the same time, I booked a one-way ticket to New York for the following morning. I remembered what Isabella had said. Last one, there is a rotten egg. I didn't sleep. As dawn broke, I was already waiting. I walked out of the villa with my suitcase. A black town car was waiting at the curb. I put on my sunglasses. Goodbye to this ridiculous chapter of my life. Chloe woke with a jolt. Beside her, Kevin was sound asleep. She'd had a nightmare. She dreamt we were watching the stars, nestled together, and then the sky went black and I was gone. She had been searching for me frantically, calling my name. Ethan, Kevin stirred, pulling her into his arms. Chloe, why are you up so early? Come back to bed. A sudden sense of dread washed over her. She pushed him away and threw on her clothes. In the car, she called the family lawyer. I want you at the city clerk's office the second it opens. Get that marriage certificate finalized. Do not delay. Only after the lawyer's repeated assurances did she feel a sliver of relief. While waiting at a red light, a black town car pulled up beside her. Her phone screen was still open to our last conversation. My final message, I promise, it will be unforgettable. She rushed back to the house and demanded to know where I was. Sir left early this morning, the housekeeper said, to buy fresh flowers for the party. Chloe relaxed slightly. The party was as lavish as she'd planned. In the center of the room hung a large, covered frame. She reached for the velvet cloth covering it, but the housekeeper stopped her. Sir said to wait until all the guests have arrived. Chloe pulled her hand back. As guests began to arrive, she got busy playing the hostess and didn't notice I was still gone. The party began. Lily appeared at the top of the stairs in a beautiful princess dress. Chloe beamed, the image of a proud mother. Suddenly, the front doors burst open. Kevin stood there, dressed in a tailored designer suit. Every head in the room turned to look at him. Chloe's smile vanished. She hurried to his side. I told you to be discreet, she hissed. He feigned innocence, spreading his hands. This is the suit your assistant delivered for me. Chloe was confused, but there was no time to argue. She cleared her throat and addressed the crowd. Welcome, everyone. And now, I'd like to introduce the guest of honor, our daughter Lily. She led Lily to the enormous cake. It was time to cut the cake, a moment for the new family, but my spot beside them was empty. I'll do it, Kevin said. He strode forward and took the cake knife from a server. Someone in the crowd voiced what everyone was thinking. I thought the Rhodes' son-in-law was someone else? Who is that guy? He's certainly dressed like he owns the place. Has anyone else noticed how much that little girl looks like him? Chloe quickly cut in. Ahem, thank you for the kind offer, but I think it would be more appropriate for my husband to do the honors. Kevin's expression soured. He glanced down and gave Lily a subtle nod. Lily understood immediately. She grabbed Kevin's hand. Mommy, let Daddy cut the cake. Uncle Ethan isn't my real daddy anyway. The words hit Chloe like a lightning bolt, short-circuiting her brain. She clamped a hand over Lily's mouth, her expression furious. Who taught you to say that? Your father is Ethan. As she moved, she bumped the velvet cloth behind her. It fell away, revealing the giant image underneath. It was a photo of her and Kevin, clothes in disarray, flushed and sweating. Chloe's face went white. She lunged forward, trying to cover the picture with her body. But it was too late. The guests were already whispering, having seen everything. Beside her, Kevin stood frozen in shock. The blood rushed to Chloe's head, and the room began to spin. She fumbled for her phone and dialed my number. The number you have dialed is not available. Please try again later. Absolute panic set in. I had planned the party, which meant I had also planned for this photo to be revealed. She couldn't bear to imagine how I must have felt when I discovered the truth about her, about Kevin, about Lily. The whispers in the room grew into loud, ugly accusations. And the Rhodes family calls themselves respectable. Look at the kind of daughter they raised, cheating on her husband. I always wondered why they were adopting a child when they're so young. Turns out it was her illegitimate daughter all along. No wonder the real husband isn't here. He probably found out and got the hell out of this mess. Chloe's mother swayed, nearly fainting. Kevin caught her just in time. Mrs. Rhodes, are you all right? Her mother caught her breath and glared at him. You disaster. You've ruined my daughter. You've ruined this family. She shoved him away with surprising strength. 6-year-old Lily, terrified by the chaos, began to sob. The scene descended into utter chaos. A few reporters who had snuck in started snapping photos, already celebrating their exclusive scoop. The party, meant to be a joyous celebration, ended with Chloe screaming curses as she threw her guests out. Despite the Rhodes family's best efforts at damage control, photos and videos from the party flooded the internet. That night, the top 3 trending topics on Twitter were all about the Rhodes family scandal. Hashtag Rhodesio Chloe affair, hashtag secret love child party disaster, hashtag high society scandal. Sources say Chloe Rhodes' husband Ethan Clark has left DC and his whereabouts are unknown. Hashtag I was sitting right next to Isabella as she casually read the hashtags aloud. Tisk, TSK. And here I thought the Rhodes family was so powerful. Turns out, not so much. Tell me, Ethan, what did you ever see in that woman? I didn't want to engage with her teasing. After all, I was the one who broke our engagement. I was in the wrong, but Isabella wasn't the type to let things go. I rolled down the window. Isabella, if you're just here to gloat, I'm leaving. We can pretend this call never happened. I opened the car door to get out. She leaned across the seat, her body pushing the door shut. You really don't have much patience for me, do you? I looked at her profile, the straight nose, the sharp jawline. Unlike Chloe's classic beauty, Isabella had an alluring, almost dangerous charm. Her breath was warm against my ear, and I felt a blush creep up my neck. When they handed me the official marriage certificate, I couldn't help a small, self-deprecating laugh. So this is what a real one felt like. The wedding was set for early next month at the grandest hotel in New York City. I wanted a quiet affair, but Isabella insisted on a grand spectacle. It's the only way to silence the gossip, she'd said. I kept my eyes down. I had no illusions about this marriage of convenience. We would be polite, respectful, and live out our lives. But Isabella, it seemed, had other ideas. She immediately posted on Facebook for the first time in her life. The caption read, "Officially off the market," accompanied by a photo of our marriage certificate. Within minutes, it had 1,000 likes and hundreds of comments. So the Ice Queen melts after all. Who's the lucky guy? When do we get to meet the mystery man? Isabella's eyes danced with a joy she couldn't hide. She replied to one comment, "He's not the lucky one. I am for getting a second chance with him. Wedding invitations are on their way. You can all meet my groom then." Reading her replies, it was hard to reconcile this giddy, almost childlike version of her with the cool, composed woman I knew. While my life was finding a new, quiet rhythm, Chloe's was descending into chaos. The only good news for her was that the 3 trending topics about her scandal were quickly buried by a new, happier headline. Chloe frowned, dialing my number again and again, but it never went through. She paced her office, agitated. Use every resource we have. Find him, but her assistant returned with nothing. He left DC this morning, sir. His destination is unknown. Chloe grabbed her assistant by the collar. What do you mean, unknown? The assistant stammered. He flew to Bangkok, then connected to Singapore, then booked a flight to Sydney, but our contacts in Australia confirmed he never entered the country. Chloe collapsed onto the sofa. Was Ethan that determined to disappear? This wasn't a spur-of-the-moment decision. He had planned this. She shot up and ran to our bedroom. It was empty. Every trace of me had been wiped clean from the entire house. Not just my clothes and the gifts she'd given me. Even her own closet was empty. She called for the housekeeper, her eyes blazing. Where are his things? Where are my things? The housekeeper was shaking. Sir, he said to clear out the closets. Everything. He burned it all. A roaring filled Chloe's ears, and she stumbled backward. She grabbed the housekeeper's arm. You're lying. Ethan loves me. He would never do that. It's true, ma'am, the housekeeper whispered. He burned it all. Even the rose garden you planted for him out back. Chloe's eyes widened in horror. She let go and ran to the backyard. The sight that greeted her left her speechless. Where the roses had once bloomed, there was only scorched earth. She had planted that garden herself, the day we got our marriage certificate. She had held my hand that day and said, "My love for you will be like these roses, always in bloom, always passionate." I had cherished that garden, spending hours every day tending to it. There was always a vase of fresh roses on the nightstand, and now they were gone. Was he really leaving her for good? Struck dumb, she finally found her voice, a hoarse, trembling whisper. "Ethan, don't do this to me. Please, come out." "Ethan, I was wrong. I shouldn't have kept seeing Kevin. But you're the one I love." But she screamed until her voice was raw, and there was no answer. Suddenly, a terrible thought occurred to her. His departure had been so absolute. Did he know? The horrifying possibility spun in her mind. Her breath hitched. She turned to her assistant. "Check on that damaged marriage certificate. Find out if Ethan discovered anything." Just then, her phone buzzed. Without looking at the caller ID, she answered frantically, "Ethan, is that you?" But it was Kevin. "Chloe, Lily has a fever. You need to get to the hospital." Her face was a dark mask. Her mind was consumed with thoughts of me. She had no patience for them. "I'm busy. If she's sick, take her to a doctor." "Why are you calling me?" She hung up. The assistant returned. "Ma'am," I checked. "Sir went to the city clerk's office to request a replacement marriage certificate." Chloe's world tilted on its axis again. "He what? Why didn't you find out about this sooner? Do you have any idea how devastated he must have been when he found out?" The assistant, pale with fear, stammered. "But didn't you have the lawyer file the real one? Why don't you take the real certificate to him? I'm sure when he sees your sincerity, he'll be moved. Then get the lawyer on the phone now. Get me that certificate, and go to that auction and get that vintage Rolex he's been wanting. When I find him, I'll apologize in person. If I show him how sorry I am, if I just talk to him, he'll forgive me. He'll come home." She ordered the staff to replant the garden, this time filling the entire yard with my favorite blue roses. She had the seedlings flown in overnight and hired the best horticulturalists to care for them. Having done all this, she finally allowed herself to breathe. The scandal continued to grow, causing Rhodes Corporation stock to plummet, but Chloe couldn't bring herself to care about the company. She couldn't bear to go back to the cold, empty house. The home that had once been so warm felt like a tomb without me in it. She started spending her nights in bars, drinking to forget. Her old friends tried to talk some sense into her. "Your legal husband is Kevin, and Lily is his daughter. Why not just make it official and marry him? Ethan left on his own. He's made it easy for you. Chloe, you've said yourself you still have feelings for Kevin." After her third drink, Chloe slammed her glass on the bar. "The man I love is Ethan. What I feel for Kevin is just nostalgia. If Ethan comes back, I'll give up custody of Lily." Her friends exchanged worried glances. One of them, braver than the rest, asked, "But Chloe, when you married Kevin on paper and gave Ethan the fake certificate, wasn't the plan always to eventually get rid of Ethan and be with Kevin for real?" The sound of glass shattering silenced the question. She had thrown her glass against the floor. "Anyone who says Ethan isn't my husband will have to answer to me." No one said another word. Late that night, stumbling drunk, she made her way home. She opened the door and saw a figure on the sofa. Overjoyed, she stumbled towards it, throwing herself into the man's arms. "Ethan, you came back. I knew you couldn't leave me." The man held her close, his voice laced with disappointment. "Chloe, it's Kevin." Her joy vanished. She pulled away, her voice cold. "This is my and Ethan's home. You shouldn't be here, and you need to take Lily. I'm not going through with the adoption." Kevin grabbed her hand. "Chloe, she's your daughter. You'd give up your own daughter for him?" "She's sick, Chloe. She's been asking for her mother." Chloe pushed his hand away and said nothing. He tried to placate her, offering her a bowl of soup. "I made this for you, to help with the hangover." She pushed it away impatiently. "Just go. I don't want to see anyone but Ethan right now." Her assistant had already shown her the messages Kevin had sent me behind her back. The screenshots were saved on her phone. She hadn't confronted him yet because finding me was her priority, and for Lily's sake. But Kevin wouldn't let it go. "Chloe, Ethan is gone. He's not coming back. Haven't you ever considered a real life with me? The three of us, a real family. Wouldn't that be good?" She looked at him, her expression frigid. "You will refer to him as Mr. Clark." He fought to control his anger. "Chloe, I'm the one you're married to, not your precious Mr. Clark. You need to wake up and face reality." That was the last straw. She exploded. "Get out. You have no right to tell me what to do in this house." He hadn't expected such venom. His eyes reddened. "Fine, I'll go. It's clear there's no place for me here." He ran out of the house. He waited in the shadows for a long time, but she never came after him. He clenched his fists in bitter resentment. Just then, his phone rang. "Mr. Anderson, I have information. Ethan Clark has registered a marriage with an unidentified woman." A slow, triumphant smile spread across Kevin's face. Perfect. Now no one could stand between him and Chloe. He looked back at the house, at the silhouette of the broken woman inside, feeling like he had already won. Soon, she would hear the news, and then he would finally take his rightful place as the son-in-law of the Rhodes family. Chloe tossed and turned in bed, unable to sleep. Half asleep, she reached for me out of habit, her arms closing on empty space. The absence of my scent in the room felt suffocating. She got out of bed and went to the balcony, to the telescope. She searched for half an hour, but she couldn't find the blue star, my star. Panic seized her. It was a bad omen. She immediately called the star name registry. A cool, detached voice on the other end of the line informed her, "I'm sorry, madam. The star registered as Ethan is no longer visible. It has expired." Her heart felt like it was being crushed in a vice. She didn't believe it. How could a star just expire? "Then I'll buy another one," she shrieked into the phone. "No, 10 of them. Name them all Ethan." The representative politely informed her that there were no unnamed stars currently available in that quadrant. By the time she hung up, the sky was beginning to lighten with the dawn. She walked barefoot and aimlessly through the streets, oblivious to the sharp stones cutting her feet. She remembered the day she'd pushed me, the way the gravel had scraped my own palm. Suddenly, she saw a familiar silhouette in the window of a corner cafe. She burst into the cafe and threw her arms around the young man, her voice trembling. "Ethan, please, let me explain. The certificate was a mistake. You're the only one I've ever wanted to be my husband." The young man in the white shirt, startled, pushed her away. "You've got the wrong person, lady. I'm not your husband." But in her delirious state, she couldn't see clearly. She lunged for him again, clinging to him. "You are Ethan. I know it's you. Ethan, please forgive me. Let's go get a real marriage license right now." She tried to drag him out of the cafe. Before they reached the door, a sharp slap echoed through the cafe. A furious woman stood before her. "Who do you think you are, putting your hands on my son? Let him go." Chloe's eyes were wild. "I won't. He's my Ethan." The two women began to struggle, and the boy called the police. When the police arrived, they pulled Chloe away. "Ma'am, take a good look. This is the owner's son. He's in high school." Her assistant arrived and helped her up. "Ms. Rhodes, there's still no word. You've made a mistake." Chloe stumbled back, her voice a raw whisper. "You're lying. It's him. Look, he's wearing our wedding ring." But the ring on the boy's finger was nothing like the one I wore. She staggered over to the owner and threw a wad of cash and a credit card at her. "I have money. Name your price. Just give him back to me." With the police there, the owner held her tongue. "Miss, I don't care how much money you have. Some things in this world just aren't for sale." As more customers filed in, some began to recognize Chloe, while others just stared at the spectacle. "Isn't that Chloe Rhodes, from Rhodes Corporation? I heard she and her husband were the perfect couple. What's all this about? You haven't heard? The rumor is she's been having an affair with an old flame. They even have a secret daughter. I heard he only left her in the first place because she didn't have money. Now that she's made it big, the parasite is back for his share." Chloe looked up, dazed, only then realizing that tears were streaming down her face. After she became successful, everyone wanted something from her. Men threw themselves at her, but she knew it was only for her money. "Only I had been there before the money, when she was starting out. I had given up my family for her. I was her safe harbor, the one person she could always count on. And now, for a man who only wanted her money, she had thrown me away." The realization hit her with the force of a physical blow, and she slapped her own face, hard. She turned to the gawking crowd, pulling out handfuls of cash and throwing them into the air. "Can anyone help me find my husband? I'll pay $5 million. The crowd fell silent. Her assistant suddenly ran up to her, breathless. "Ms. Rhodes, we have a lead. We don't have a location, but a street-style photographer in New York posted a photo, and Sir is in the background." A flicker of hope ignited in Chloe's eyes. "Find that photographer. Pay them whatever they want. I need to know where Ethan is." The fog of her hangover and despair lifted instantly. She immediately turned and apologized profusely to the cafe owner and her son. In the car, her assistant handed her a manila envelope. "What's this?" The assistant hesitated. "It's the background check you requested on Lily. I haven't had a chance to give it to you." Chloe tossed it aside without a glance. "Ma'am," the assistant said gently, "you should probably look at it. Some of the information doesn't add up." After a quick scan of the dates on the report, Chloe's heart plummeted. She had never imagined it. Lily wasn't 6 years old. She was 5, which meant she couldn't possibly be the baby Chloe had given birth to. The assistant watched her face. "I checked the hospital records. The baby you gave birth to, she passed away from an illness before she was a month old." Chloe gripped the file, her teeth clenched. He had found a random child to pass off as their own. He had lied to her. She immediately called Kevin. Kevin, who was at the hospital with a sick Lily, was overjoyed to hear from her. "Chloe, you finally called. I knew you couldn't abandon us. Lily's right here. Quick, Lily, say hi to Mommy." A small, plaintive voice came on the line. "Mommy, why didn't you come see me? Daddy said you don't want us anymore." Before, a single tear from Lily would have made Chloe want to give her the world. But now, knowing the truth, she just felt like a fool. She suppressed her rage. She would deal with him in person. Which hospital? What room number? "I'm on my way." Overjoyed, Kevin gave her the name of the hospital and the room number. Chloe hung up and turned to her assistant. "Get some security. We're going to the hospital. I have a feeling Kevin has something to do with Ethan's disappearance." The assistant made the call. At the hospital, Kevin was feeling smug. He assumed Chloe had found out about Ethan's new marriage. Just like he'd convinced her to marry him on paper 5 years ago, He was sure he could convince her to make it real now. Ethan had done all the hard work, and now Kevin was ready to reap the rewards. Chloe was now a wealthy woman, and soon all of it would belong to him and his daughter. He patiently coached Lily on how to charm Chloe into signing over company shares to his name. He had no idea what kind of storm was about to break over his head. Chloe stormed into the hospital and kicked open the door to Lily's room. Kevin, who had changed into a low-cut shirt to show off his physique, sauntered over. "Chloe, darling, let's take our daughter and go home." Chloe gestured, and the security guards she'd brought with her stepped forward. They pinned Kevin against the wall. "How dare you lie to me?" Kevin was stunned. He struggled against their grip. "I never lied to you, Chloe. Let me go. You're scaring Lily." Chloe advanced on him. "You didn't lie to me? Then tell me, whose daughter is Lily?" Kevin's heart sank. He stammered, She's your daughter. You saw the DNA test." Chloe threw the file in his face. "Look at this and then try telling me that again. Lie to me again, and I swear." He scrambled to pick up the scattered papers. When he saw the words "actual age, 5, his eyes went wide with terror. He looked up, his face a mask of fear. "Chloe, please, let me explain." Her assistant had already unlocked Kevin's phone and found his iMessage history with me. He sent her dozens of provocative photos and videos. He's the one who sent the photo for the party. Chloe took the phone and began to scroll. She trembled as she saw the photos, the videos, the taunting messages. He had sent me pictures of them together, of him and Lily at the amusement park. With every swipe, her heart grew colder. Every word was a needle piercing her heart. She gritted her teeth. "I warned you," she seethed, "to stay away from Ethan. How dare you go behind my back and do this? What were you trying to do?" Seeing that it was all over, Kevin crawled to her, grabbing at her dress. "Chloe, please, even if Lily isn't yours, we're still legally married. You dare bring that up now?" she roared. "My lawyer just called. He said you've been using Lily's illness as an excuse to delay the divorce. You think you can just hold on to the title of my husband? We are going to finalize this divorce right now." He clutched his chest, still crawling at her feet. "I wasn't delaying, Chloe. She really is sick. Besides, it's too late. Even if we get divorced now, it won't matter. Ethan is already..." He stopped himself mid-sentence. He had just realized she didn't know about my new marriage. He had almost exposed his own source. She bent down and grabbed his chin, forcing him to look at her. "Ethan is already what? What do you know?" His mouth hung open, but he refused to speak. He knew her temper. If she found out he'd had me investigated, she would kill him. She saw his refusal. "You're not going to talk? Fine. I have other ways of making you talk. Take him away." Terror filled his eyes. He clung to her leg. "No, Chloe, please. I was wrong. I'm sorry, Elite. Please, forgive me. For Lily's sake, please." She shook him off in disgust and gestured for her men to drag him away. From the bed, a terrified, pale Lily cried out for her mommy and daddy. Chloe didn't even look at her. She told her assistant to call the children's home and have them take Lily back. Then, she instructed her assistant to issue a nationwide missing persons report with a $20 million reward for any information leading to my whereabouts. With that kind of money, she was sure someone would find me. News of her high-profile search for me quickly reached New York. Isabella sat in her CEO's chair, flicking a solid gold lighter open and closed. "So theatrical. The nouveau riche always are. It seems she's not quite over you." I was lounging on her office sofa, eating a piece of exotic fruit she'd had flown in. "What's that? Are you jealous, Isabella?" She was suddenly leaning over me, her face inches from mine. "You're my husband now. I'm not foolish enough to be jealous of some social climber." But she was. The thought that I had ever loved Chloe made her burn with a quiet rage. I held a grape to her lips. "Have one, honey." The word honey made a flush rise on her cheeks. She turned away, but not before I saw the blush spread down her neck. I could never reconcile the woman before me with the ice queen of New York, the untouchable heiress everyone talked about. "No? Then I guess I'll." She turned and kissed me, her hand coming up to cup the back of my neck. Her kiss was fierce and clumsy, full of passion but no technique. When we broke for air, I started to tease. "Isabella, don't tell me you're aroused." I turned the tables, sweeping her up into my arms. I looked around the office, but there was nowhere suitable. She guided my hand to a panel on the wall. With a press, a hidden door slid open. I stared, wide-eyed, at the fully furnished bedroom that lay beyond. Isabella pressed the intercom. "Hold all my calls until the end of the day." but it was barely past noon. I had a feeling I'd gotten in over my head. I laid her gently on the bed. She pressed another button, and the door slid silently shut. I leaned over her, pinning her with my gaze. "Don't worry, Isabella," I whispered. "We're about to fix that." Hours later, long after the workday had ended, the city outside was dark. Isabella spoke tentatively. "Ethan, maybe we should get some dinner." I propped myself up on my elbows. "I'm not hungry." My hand slid around her waist again. Her eyes widened and she pushed me away. "Well, I am. What do you want?" "I can have your secretary bring something up." She rolled her eyes. Wasn't he tired? Wasn't he hungry? It had been nearly 7 hours. An idea sparked in her eyes. She slipped out from under me and off the bed. "I'm in the mood for French," she said, gathering her clothes. "I'll have my secretary make a reservation." 3 minutes later, her secretary called back. "Ma'am, the restaurant has been cleared out for you." I'd heard that getting a table at that restaurant was impossible, that even presidents had to book months in advance. And Isabella had just cleared the whole place out. She raised an eyebrow. "I bought it, in your name. Now we can eat here whenever we want." I was, once again, stunned by the sheer scale of her wealth. She draped her arms around my neck, her voice a seductive purr. "Better than some stupid star, don't you think?" I frowned. Was there anything she didn't know? I was starting to suspect that the expiration of my star hadn't been a natural occurrence. Chloe kept Kevin locked in her basement for 3 days. On the 4th morning, she had the door opened. Covering her nose against the stench, she asked, "Are you ready to sign the divorce papers now?" Kevin, filthy and unshaven, struggled to his feet. "Chloe, please," he rasped. "Let me out. I'll do anything." She took the disheveled, filthy man straight to the city clerk's office. "We'd like to file for divorce," she said, sliding their documents through the window. The clerk looked from her to the terrified man beside her. "Sir," the clerk asked Kevin, "are you here of your own free will?" Terrified, Kevin quickly nodded. The clerk processed the paperwork quickly, but Chloe had forgotten about the state's mandatory 1-month cooling-off period. "What? A month? I don't need to cool off. I want this divorce finalized now." The clerk patiently explained the law. Her assistant pulled her away. "Ms. Rhodes, finding Mr. Clark is the priority. You can't do that if you're in jail for assault." Chloe lowered her fist from the plexiglass barrier. She shoved Kevin back towards her security guards and stormed out, leaving him sobbing on the floor of the government building. Someone recorded the scene and posted it online, where it quickly went viral. Is that really Chloe Rhodes? The one who just won that Entrepreneur of the Year award? She looked so poised on TV. So her husband leaves her and now she's acting all heartbroken? A little late for that. #boycott Rhodes Corp. It's time for the shareholders to kick her out. That night, shareholders began dumping their stock. Major clients started pulling their contracts. When her assistant reported the news, Chloe was dismissive. "I built this company from nothing. This is just a minor setback." "Ma'am," the assistant said quietly, "the initial seed money for the company, it came from Mr. Clark's parents. He never knew. The investor was anonymous, but I found out by accident." Chloe stared at her, disbelieving. All this time, she had believed she had built her empire on her own talent and charisma. "Ms. Rhodes, when you drove Mr. Clark away, the Clarks pulled their funding. If we don't do something, the company is finished." The news hit her like a physical blow. Just then, her phone rang. A man's voice on the other end claimed to have information about me. He wanted $5 million. Her assistant whispered, "Ma'am, we don't have that kind of liquid cash anymore." But Chloe wasn't listening. Her only thought was of me. "Mortgage the company," she ordered. "But ma'am, what if it's a scam?" But her mind was made up. The company doesn't matter. As long as I can get Ethan back, I don't care if I lose everything. The money was wired. 5 minutes later, a photo appeared on her phone. It was me having dinner with another woman. Chloe's fists clenched, a venomous jealousy rising in her. "Find out who that woman is. Now." After a few calls, her assistant had an answer. "Ma'am, the woman with him, it's his former fiancée, Isabella Blackwood." Chloe froze. Isabella Blackwood? The Blackwoods? The powerful, politically connected family? Her family had a long military history, generations of generals. She was the first to go into business. Their family was notoriously private. Even a deep search online yielded only a few sparse details. Chloe had always known about my childhood engagement to Isabella. If she hadn't intervened, Isabella and I would probably have children by now. But Ethan had broken that engagement before he left New York. Why would they be having dinner together? Are you sure? The assistant confirmed. It's her. We had multiple sources verify. A new kind of anxiety began to gnaw at Chloe. If it had been anyone else, she would have been confident she could win me back. But the Blackwoods were a family no one dared to cross. Still, she had to try. A short while later, her assistant returned with more news. Isabella Blackwood is getting married. The wedding is in 3 days. Chloe burst out laughing. So, Isabella was engaged to be married, and she was still meeting with another woman's husband? So much for the Blackwood family's strict, old money reputation. If news broke that the Blackwood heiress was cheating on her fiancé just days before her wedding, she would have no choice but to stay away from Ethan. Find out the name of her fiancé. But this time, after a dozen calls, her assistant came up empty. The groom's identity was a closely guarded secret. Chloe tapped her chin thoughtfully. It doesn't matter. Just get me an invitation to that wedding. I want to congratulate the bride in person. And Mr. Clark, should we continue the search? Chloe waved a dismissive hand. No need. Once I expose Isabella's little secret, Ethan will remember who was always there for him. He'll come running back. Chloe was confident she had the upper hand. She had no idea she was walking right into Isabella's trap. Isabella had arranged it all. The anonymous tipster who extorted money from Chloe, the strategically leaked photo of us together, the accidental revelation of her own impending marriage. Isabella had set the stage, and she was going to make Chloe pay for what she had done to me. Of course, she had her own reasons, too. She knew I was a man who loved fiercely, but for the last 5 years, it was Chloe I had loved. The ever-proud Isabella, for the first time in her life, felt a flicker of insecurity. Only by completely destroying any chance of a reconciliation between me and Chloe could she truly have me to herself. Isabella stood at her floor-to-ceiling window, looking out over the New York skyline. She had lost me once. She would not lose me again. Ethan, I never knew how much I loved you until the day I lost you. For 5 years, she had remained single, indifferent to the endless parade of suitors, so much so that her family and friends had begun to question her orientation. Her grandfather had even told her he didn't care if she brought home a man or a woman, as long as she brought someone home. She had tried to move on, had tried dating other men, but whenever things started to get serious, she would pull away. She had even seen a therapist about it. Miss Blackwood, the doctor had told her, there's nothing physically wrong with you. I suggest you speak to a therapist. To avoid the issue altogether, she had simply stopped dating. She had resigned herself to a life alone, until I called. After I'd hung up on her, filled with regret, she'd had her secretary do a background check on me. That's when she discovered Chloe's deception. She had immediately called me back. It's valid. It will always be valid. Afraid I wouldn't show, she'd added. Last one, there is a rotten egg. After I'd called her childish and hung up, she had turned to her secretary. Was that too childish? The secretary, used to seeing her as a ruthless titan of industry, was stunned to see her acting like an insecure teenager. A little, yes. She had immediately regretted it. Should I call him back? Does he think I'm immature? What should I say? Why aren't you helping me? I pay you a fortune, and you can't even figure out what a man is thinking. Will he think I'm not serious? How do I fix this? Say something. I pay you all this money, and you can't even tell me what he's thinking. The secretary had simply stared at her boss, utterly speechless. Ma'am, Chloe Rhodes's assistant has acquired an invitation to the wedding. Isabella stubbed out her cigarette. Good. Give her whatever she asks for. And one more thing. I want to acquire Rhodes Corporation before the wedding. The secretary nodded. It's already in process. By tomorrow evening, Rhodes Corporation will be ours. If she was going to teach Chloe a lesson on my behalf, she was going to be thorough. Her grandfather had taught her to remove the foundation, to leave her enemies with no chance of recovery. Isabella had never been one for mercy. The window reflected the cold, hard look on her face. What are you thinking about? I asked, walking up behind her. Her expression immediately softened. She turned and hugged me, nuzzling her head against my chest. I stroked her hair, acting like a little kitten. Her secretary, who had just entered the room, froze. Someone had just compared the lioness of the New York business world to a kitten? Did he have a death wish? But Isabella's reaction was even more shocking. She nuzzled closer and whispered, "Meow." The secretary backed out of the room, a look of profound disgust on her face, and quietly closed the door. Chloe woke to good news. Her assistant had secured an invitation to Isabella's wedding. She examined the invitation, solid gold, inlaid with a massive sapphire. So easy to obtain. Perhaps the Blackwoods weren't as untouchable as everyone thought. It was strange, though. The invitation listed only the bride's name. The groom was not named, but Chloe didn't care who the groom was. Some heir to some other fortune, no doubt. She turned to her assistant. "Is everything ready?" The assistant nodded. "I had defied my parents, broken my engagement, all for Chloe. I had no one else in the world. If there was anyone left who might take me back, it was Isabella. The wedding of a Blackwood heiress would be crawling with media. After the scandal broke, she wouldn't dare show her face near Ethan again." Kevin quickly straightened his clothes and flashed what he imagined was a charming smile. He leaned forward, puffing out his chest. "Miss Blackwood, did you rescue me? Perhaps I could repay you, personally." Isabella's secretary deftly grabbed him by the collar and pulled him back. Isabella sat down, her voice a lazy drawl. "You think you're worthy?" The smile vanished from Kevin's face. He knew he wasn't as handsome as I was, but he'd always considered himself good-looking. In her eyes, he was nothing. He sat back down. "What do you want from me?" Isabella offered him $5 million. Enough to get Lily out of the system and for the two of them to disappear. Who is Lily's real mother? Isabella planned to use him against Chloe, which meant she needed leverage. There was no telling what a desperate man like him might do. Kevin's lips thinned, but he didn't answer. Isabella wasn't worried. "Secretary, please escort Mr. Anderson back." Back, of course, didn't mean back to DC. It meant back to Chloe's basement. "Wait, I'll talk." He told her about his early days overseas, living with a host family who had eventually thrown him out. He began to cry as he recounted the story. Chloe, feeling sorry for him, had agreed to the paper marriage, which gave him the legal standing he needed to stay and build a career. "So why did you come back?" "I heard Chloe had made it big. I wanted to be her real husband." Isabella nodded. His story matched the information her secretary had gathered. Her secretary glanced at her watch. "Ma'am, it's time for your wedding dress fitting." Isabella stood and smoothed her dress. As she reached the door, Kevin called out, "Your groom, it's Ethan, isn't it?" Before she could answer, he continued, "He's a lucky man. Chloe was ready to kill me for him, and you don't even care that he was with someone else." She didn't turn around. "It's not about luck. It's about him. When he loves completely. And when he lets go, he makes a clean break. I'm the lucky one to be marrying him." And with that, she left without a backward glance. Kevin stared down at his plate and began to eat, shoveling the food into his mouth. Felt so good to have a full stomach. He choked back a sob, tears streaming down his face. I stepped out of the fitting room in a custom-tailored black tuxedo and saw Isabella waiting for me on the sofa. "I told your secretary you didn't have to come," I said. "I know how busy you are." I meant it. When Chloe and I had our wedding, her career was just taking off. "Ethan, you can pick it out. I have a dinner with an important client." "Ethan, you book the venue. I have a business dinner." "Ethan, just pick something simple for the rings. We can get something custom when we have more money." That whole rushed, simple wedding, I had planned it all by myself. Chloe had only shown up on the day and had turned what was supposed to be our ceremony into a networking event for her company. Isabella's empire was 10 times the size of Chloe's, which meant her schedule was even more demanding. I hadn't expected her to be involved in the wedding planning at all. It was just a marriage of convenience, I told my best friend. But Isabella had been there for every step. She had chosen the venue, approved every decoration, and commissioned a one-of-a-kind design for our rings. She had even insisted on my input for every detail, including our attire. This tuxedo, for instance, was her own design from her master's program. She sat on the low sofa, her long legs elegantly crossed. Her eyes, sharp and intelligent, roamed over my body with an undisguised hunger that made my skin tingle. I shifted uncomfortably under her gaze and adjusted my bow tie. "Does it not look right?" The man in the mirror looked back at me, sharp and well-dressed, with a face that could have belonged to a movie star. "Ethan," she said, her voice husky, "please, for my sake, try to have a more accurate assessment of your own good looks." I pressed my lips together. Where her fingers had touched my collar, my skin was still burning. Her breath was hot against my cheek, and I felt my face flush. She pulled back, feigning composure. "I designed it myself. Do you like it?" I took a deep breath to steady myself, then another. "Now it's your turn," I said. "Try on the dresses." With the help of the salon staff, she tried on several couture gowns, each a unique, one-of-a-kind creation. Exhausted, she finally collapsed onto the sofa, draping her legs over mine. "Let's just go with the mermaid one. You like that one, right?" I raised an eyebrow. There are still a few more that I picked out. Go try them on. She pouted. I'm too tired. I pulled her to her feet. Come on, just a few more. We'll get Thai food after. But she refused to budge. Then, a mischievous glint appeared in her eye. She pointed at me. Why don't you try them on for me? My eyes widened. What? I'm a man. Her interest was piqued. You have a prettier face than most women, and with your broad shoulders and narrow waist, it would look amazing. I shook my head vehemently. Absolutely not. A man in a wedding dress? I'd be a laughingstock. No way. She pouted. Please. When I still refused, she pulled out her secret weapon. She grabbed my arm, her voice a low purr. Honey. And so, not only did I end up trying on a wedding dress, but I also found myself sitting in a makeup chair getting a full face of makeup. Her secretary watched as her boss played dress up with her future husband and shook her head. Love, the secretary muttered to herself, really does make people crazy. The night before the wedding, I insisted on tradition and sent Isabella away, arguing that it was bad luck for the groom to see the bride before the ceremony. But honey, she whined from the other side of the door, we're going to be sleeping together tomorrow night anyway. Just let me in. I double-locked the door. Nope, it's tradition. It's bad luck. The mention of bad luck seemed to work. Fine, she conceded. But I miss you. I rolled my eyes. Isabella, we've been apart for all of 5 minutes. I was beginning to realize that the formidable Isabella Blackwood was, at her core, a hopeless romantic. After she finally left, I lay in bed, wide awake. Tomorrow I was marrying Isabella. And while our time together had been surprisingly easy and pleasant, marriage was a different beast entirely. I was nervous. After the disaster with Chloe, I hadn't had the courage to face my parents, to ask for their forgiveness. I assumed their table at the wedding tomorrow would be empty. The thought of getting married without the blessing of my family or friends left a sour taste in my mouth. I told myself to be grateful. Marrying Isabella was more than I deserved. The ceremony was scheduled for 10:58 a.m. Isabella had consulted an astrologer, who had assured her it was the most auspicious time for a long and happy marriage. She had been so delighted she'd written the man a check for $500,000. I had to laugh. It was hard to believe this gullible woman was the same ruthless CEO who ran the Blackwood Empire. Outside the hotel, Chloe arrived, dressed in a stunning black cocktail dress. She had dressed to kill, a diamond ring tucked in her purse. Ethan might be here, she thought. When she saw him, she would propose. The cooling-off period for her divorce would be over in a few days. As soon as it was final, she would make things right with me. She presented her invitation and was ushered inside. The master of ceremonies took the stage and announced the beginning of the ceremony. Isabella appeared on the stage. Thank you all for coming to my wedding. I'm so grateful to have you here. A smirk played on Chloe's lips as she confidently pushed her way through the crowd to the front of the stage. She snatched the microphone from the MC. Hello? Can everyone hear me? Isabella calmly waved the MC off the stage, then turned to the spectacle Chloe was making of herself. May I help you, miss? Chloe straightened her dress and cleared her throat. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Chloe Rhodes. Yes, the Chloe Rhodes, CEO of Rhodes Corporation. I'm here today, uninvited, to personally congratulate the bride on her wedding day. I have a few photos I'd like to share, especially with the groom's family and friends. She held up her phone, displaying the photo of me and Isabella at dinner. Isabella smiled sweetly. Miss Rhodes, your phone screen is so small. Why don't we project it onto the main screen so everyone can see? Chloe smirked. An excellent idea. A technician connected her phone to the massive screen behind the stage. Chloe's voice dripped with smug satisfaction. Isn't the man in this photo the lover the bride has been seeing behind her fiancé's back? I wonder how Miss Blackwood plans to explain this. Isabella smiled. And the man in the photo, Miss Rhodes? Do you recognize him? Of course, Chloe declared. He's my husband. Isabella laughed. But your legal husband's name is Kevin Anderson, and he is not the man in that photo. Chloe, stunned that Isabella knew this, stammered, I only married Kevin on paper to help him when he was overseas. The man I love is Ethan Clark. Isabella feigned confusion. I'm sorry, did I hear that correctly? The man you love and the man you married are two different people. The words had tumbled out before she could stop them. No, Kevin and I are getting a divorce, and then I will marry my true husband, so you don't need to concern yourself. Isabella calmly pointed to the large screen. And would you care to explain these videos, Miss Rhodes? On the screen, a video was now playing, showing Chloe brutally beating Kevin in her basement. Chloe whipped around, her face draining of all color. Who's doing that? Who's in my phone? Isabella had to suppress an eye roll. Hadn't Chloe handed her phone to the technician herself? Kidnapping, assault. Miss Rhodes, I wonder if the police would be interested in the contents of your phone? Someone's already called the police. Any guesses who? Kevin, you're the one who got him out. Chloe's composure finally broke. With Kevin as a witness and the evidence on her own phone, she knew she was facing prison time. But she quickly pulled herself together. She hadn't forgotten her primary objective, to ruin Isabella's wedding and force my hand. Isabella, I don't care if I get arrested. You're cheating on your fiancé with another woman's husband. Aren't you afraid of the scandal? Isabella just looked at her with an expression that said, Is that all you've got? Chloe, you really are a fool. I suggest you take a good look at the audience. Confused, Chloe turned to the crowd, and the floor dropped out from under her. The guests were not Isabella's. They were her own family, her friends, and the major shareholders of Rhodes Corporation. She stumbled backward and collapsed onto the stage. She pointed a trembling finger at Isabella. You set me up. Below, the guests pointed and whispered, their faces masks of disgust. She's a disgrace to the Rhodes name. She should be disowned. Mrs. Rhodes, how could you raise such a daughter? She has no morals. I move to have her removed from the board immediately. Chloe scrambled to her feet, still fighting. She's lying. I would never abandon my husband. Where's your proof? Those pictures are fake. The doors to the ballroom swung open. Kevin stood there. Chloe, she's not lying. You're a monster. He walked forward, rolling up his sleeves to reveal the bruises and cuts on his arms. This is what she did to me. He then proceeded to tell the entire story. How Chloe had lied to me from the very beginning, all while carrying on her affair with him. Enraged, like a cornered animal, Chloe lunged off the stage and wrapped her hands around Kevin's throat. Just then, a group of police officers burst into the room and pulled her off him. Chloe Rhodes, you're under arrest for attempted murder. At the same time, another officer was cuffing Kevin. We have evidence that you knowingly administered a poison. You need to come with us. Kevin stared at Isabella, his eyes wide with disbelief. Isabella simply picked up a champagne flute from a nearby table and raised it in a silent toast. She had said it before. She was not a merciful person. And now, the MC's voice boomed, let's welcome our groom, Ethan Clark. The ballroom doors opened slowly. A single spotlight hit the entrance as the wedding march began to play. I stood at the end of the aisle as Isabella, holding a bouquet of white roses, began to walk towards me. This was the second time I had stood at an altar. The first had ended in utter humiliation. This time, I wasn't sure I could dare to hope for happiness. For a second, I wanted to turn and run. I could see her hands, her fingers slightly curled with nerves. And then I saw them. At a table near the front, my parents were watching me, their eyes shining with tears. With them were my aunts, uncles, cousins, my friends from college, my best man. They were all waving, mouthing congratulations. I stood frozen, a wave of shock and gratitude washing over me as tears streamed down my face. The MC was about to prompt me forward, but Isabella held up a hand, stopping him. She gathered the hem of her gown and, with a steady, determined gaze, walked the rest of the way to me. Ethan, she said softly, I know you're scared, but I want you to know you're safe with me. I looked at her earnest, open face, and suddenly I saw the girl she used to be, the girl who would wait for me outside the school gates every day so we could walk home together. The face of the girl from my memories merged with the woman standing before me. And in that moment, I finally believed it. The right people always find their way back to each other. She gently wiped a tear from my cheek. Your parents were never really angry with you, Ethan. They love you so much. And your friends, they were ecstatic when I told them you were coming home. She took my hand and led me to the center of the stage. She took the microphone. Thank you all for being here today at my and Ethan's wedding. And now, I'd like to say something to my husband. She turned to me, taking both of my hands in hers. Ethan, I am the luckiest woman in the world to be marrying you today. Thank you for teaching me how to love. I love you, Ethan. The room erupted in applause, and then our friends started chanting, kiss, kiss, kiss. A deep blush spread across Isabella's face. She stammered, Ethan, I laughed through my tears, and before she could finish her sentence, I leaned in and kissed her. In the corner, Isabella's secretary watched with a resigned sigh. Falling in love is like a demonic possession. Now that she's married, she'll be a complete slave to her husband. My fearsome, brilliant boss is gone forever. Sometime later, I went to visit Chloe in prison. The once powerful businesswoman was now just an inmate in a jumpsuit. When she saw me, her eyes filled with tears of regret. "Ethan, I'm so sorry. Can you ever forgive me?" I picked up the receiver, my voice calm. "I forgive you, Chloe. Not because I still have feelings for you, but because none of it matters to me anymore." She sobbed, "Ethan, my divorce is final. Will you?" I stood up and pressed my own marriage certificate against the glass partition. "I finally know what a real one of these looks like. Goodbye, Chloe." I turned and walked away. Behind me, she started pounding on the glass, screaming my name until a guard pulled her away. Isabella was leaning against the car, an ice cream cone in her hand. She smiled when she saw me. "Your favorite vanilla bean. Come on, honey. I made reservations at that sushi place you love." I looked up at the sky. The sun was shining,